I think people either talk too much and are very bad listeners or feel so guilty about talking. There's no middle ground, I feel. People are such extreme examples, or maybe my comments are like that. I actually shuttle from both. When I'm on a roll, I talk a lot, but then on other days, I just want to listen because I don't want to make the other person feel bad. I read a book recently, I don't know which book it was. I think, and it again reiterated the point of actually listening. And actually listening is not just because you're quiet doesn't mean you're listening. Actually listening is they say something and you're not preparing an answer in your head. If you're not doing that, you're actually listening. So for example, I caught myself when a friend of mine was saying, my boss at work is very negative and it's getting very bad. And as she was saying this, my head was preparing this thing of, oh, maybe as your boss is being negative, how about you focus on the fact that you are good at what you do? But then I was like, shit, right now while I'm formulating this question, I'm not listening to him. So I try this exercise where I don't prepare an answer at all. They would say the same thing, that my boss is being very negative. And I was like, okay, in what way? Because you wouldn't ask in what way because you think you've already understood the situation. But you ask in what way because you want to know more clarity. Then she said, oh, in this way, in this way. I was like, oh, okay. And then what happened today? And then she tells me another thing. And you realize that the approach is to listen more and not to give an answer. That's truly listening. And I think that conversation is much better. Because if you listen and you're trying to give, I'm not even saying give a solution, just giving an answer is very counterintuitive to a conversation. Because if you just tend to keep listening and the questions that you want to ask is derived from what you just heard, it's a way better. I wish I had a better example, but try this. Like next time someone's talking to you, don't start preparing the answer. Your next question should just be maybe a detail you didn't understand fully. Yeah, that's a good example. Like if she said my boss is being negative, instead of me being like, here are some ways you can tackle negativity, I'll be like, in what way? What do you mean negative? Then she says she does this. It's like, oh, so that's not nice? She's like, yeah, it's not nice. And then she tells me more things. And I think that's a more rich conversation because you stop assuming you understood everything in the first go. Everything is not a Q&A. Everything is not a challenge to understand. Sometimes you just listen. And if your end goal is, I have nothing to add, it'll be a very nice conversation. By nothing to add, I mean you don't want to give an answer. You just want to know more. Conversations are very volatile. I get very sensitive to it sometimes because I'm scared if I ask a question, I'm going to throw them off. And that happens 90% of the time. For example, the boss conversation, they're like, my boss is very negative. And then I say, oh, in what way? Which is the ideal thing to say. I would say, oh, is this a new boss? She'd be like, no, actually, my other boss. Actually, my previous job, no? Now we've gone from this job to a previous job. And I've completely derailed the conversation. So you never know where it was going. I know this sounds like I'm overthinking a lot. All I'm saying is to be a good listener, stop preparing the answer and genuinely listen. By listening, like you get full clarity on what they're saying to understand rather than so that you can give your opinion on it.
Hey, if listening to these long 1 hour podcasts isn't your thing, this is the channel, bruh. Subscribe for more short recordings of me talking alone or with my friends. And I won't be a true YouTuber if I don't say like, share, subscribe. So do it. Bye.